The hard thing is for us that we don't have a lot of connection with other parents. With 4 children, it's very hard to. Most of my life is spent looking after those kids, working, and we don't get out to socialise, which we should, but it's very hard with that amount of children, especially with Ben. But it is very hard. We've had discussions with other parents. It is very important to form bonds and have discussions with other parents who are going through the process than you or have been through the process. And they will have stories and understanding and comprehension that can very much help your understanding of your child and how to best to interact with them and how to best to communicate with them. And once you can communicate with them, development progresses. Once you can sort of understand where they're coming from or what they're looking for, then you can form a stronger bond, and they can understand that they know that you're there for them, and that you know you're there for them. It's amazing how when the feeling of not lost, that's not probably the right word, but angst that you get when you feel you can't communicate with your child. Where you're going, what do you want? What do you want? And you can't get them to understand what you want. It's a very frustrating and it's really helpful to reach out to others, because they can appreciate that frustration and give you techniques and give you ideas of how to communicate, how to start that process. It would have helped if there was a way for me to connect with these people online. I'm quite a very busy person with Ben and their 4 other kids. It would be really helpful to have a service that you go online and connect to other parents at a time that suits you and them, because we're all very busy in this life, and sometimes the only time you can really shut down is at 8 or 9 o'clock at night when they're all in bed, and you can sit down and then maybe have a decent chit chat with someone, but it has to be on the online forum, because that actually would be really helpful. Because the most thing when you're starting the process of where is my child is, you have all these questions and you have all these. And it would be really helpful to actually have a resource that you could click on and see other people's stories, see other people's progression, and say, okay, I'm going through that. It's not strange. He's behaving like this. Other people have been through this. You don't feel so alone. That's one thing that when we started the process, we felt very alone with this issue. And it would be really helpful to have an education tool to allow you to see that you're not alone with these processes, and there are people out there that can help you with it. I've noticed that there is fewer dads involved with their development of the children. It's nothing. For a man, it's a little bit scary, like that. We're not naturally. We're more like, yeah, it's all right, mate. But that mentality doesn't always help with the development of children. You've got to say, okay, there's an issue here. How can I help and be support to resolve it and be involved in not the resolving of it, but the support of it and the development of it. And if you do that, the interaction with your children becomes so much stronger.
So do you talk sometimes to other dads about dad things?
I haven't. His came at a particularly interesting time in our lives. I used to run a small business, and I was very detached. Not detachment. Detached was the right word, but I was worked very hard supporting the 4 children. But when business went under, I found myself unemployed and out there looking for jobs. So was more time free. So I was better interaction with all the kids. But I saw that Ben needed more special attention to help him through, help him develop. So he and I have a bond. I also believe there's the autistic side of him, the spectrum side, comes from my side of the family. If you diagnosed my side of the family, you'd find markers of us on the spectrum, of my whole family, certain aspects of us on the spectrum. And so that my understanding, because there's aspects that I can understand and I've seen through my life with my family, I can empathise with him better. I can empathise with him strongly. I don't know if I don't know if that's the same for other men, and always happy to have a discourse with other guys about their interactions with their kids and their development of their kids, and we can all learn something from each other. Really could. The hardest thing is to think about is the stigma of autism, or am I at fault? Am I to blame? Did my faulty swimmers do this? Did too much mercury from a bus do this? You can't go through that. It's not going to solve any situation. What is what is. The best to do is try and make the best of what you've got. And if you work to create a bond with your child, and then they want to bond with you, because that's what every human being wants to do. You've just got to figure out the way through the eye of the needle to them, right? And see the world through as they see it. And if you can flexible your mind that way, and so say, okay, this is how Kasim wants to see the world, this is how Ben wants to see the world, and I can interact with them that way, then it happens, and they're your son or your daughter, right? My wife did most. She does most of the planning. I kind of do the implementation, right? That's what I think guys are really great for. We're not really much the planning. We're much of the wife says we need a mammoth for dinner. Go out and get the mammoth, right? That's kind of the way men sort of work. We've got an autistic son. We need to do OT with him. Take him to OT, and in some senses, it's kind of almost like in some senses, it's like your son wants to learn soccer or wants to learn a sport with dads. I think is the best way. Your son needs development. Go out and help him get development, and dads will go, rightio. See, that it's such a cutting knife about good decisions and bad decisions. We used our individual funding to access a small computer for Ben, because he is obsessed with Thomas and loves to sit and watch Thomas on YouTube. He literally watches Thomas on the computer day and night, sitting there watching his stories of Thomas. And it's a great decision, because you can see that he's getting such enjoyment from it, and it's what he loves. But also, it's in some sense a bad decision, because it takes him out from interacting with the world and puts him into his own, let's call it Ben's autistic world, right? And it puts him into, and he feels very calm and he feels very relaxed, and that's great, right? But he can't always live in that world. He has to interact with the world that's going out here. So in some senses, that was we have to gently nurture that he feels good and comfortable and relaxed now, but also have to say, mate, sorry, we have to put that down. And Pumptree really helped with that, being able to tell him, communicate, that we're finished with that, and we're going for process that. Well, then we're going to do this. Then we can come back to you, Thomas. So it was really helpful teaching us those techniques that gave us the ability to communicate with them. Because the one thing that I found very interesting about autism is they don't seem to understand. Well, it's all very final for them. When you're leaving them, they're never going to see mum and dad again. In that, I really think that's what they're thinking in their mind. But and then understanding that no, I will be coming back. There will be they're very in the. That's the only way I can describe it. They're there, but the interaction and the OT that we've accessed here has helped us show him that we can do this, then this, but then we can come back to that you love. You've just got to walk through us, get in the car, go shopping, then we'll bring back Thomas when we come home, and that's the thing's been monumentally helpful. Since the work in here, since with the OT work with him, you can see that his horizons have broadened. Before it was literally all Thomas, but now occasionally the sprinkling of the Octonauts, the Ninja Turtles, and he interacts with his brothers and sisters better now as well. Like he really, since making the choices of his OT and his speech therapy, he now interacts better with his brothers and sisters in a better communication, better behavioural situation, and it's life is easier for us. with 4 kids, we had a lot of trouble with finances. Is hard for us, especially getting here. Like with 4 kids, and I was unemployed. Our car broke down, and we live a good couple of k's away. And Mark said, "Listen, if you can't get here, it's not going to be any good. Let's get your car fixed, and use your funding to fix the car so we can get you here." And I'm like, "Okay, that's a brilliant idea. Let's without we can't walk here from how far away we live here. Public transport with Ben's not really going to work very well either." So she said, "Let's access your funding to fix the car." And so we did, and then Kathy was able to get down here with him for that. And it was a massive help to us to realise that sort of could be an access to the individual funding, so we could do that, because without otherwise, we couldn't get here to do the OT or the speech therapy. And so I really am grateful for them saying that's what we could do with it. I'm like, yes. When we found out the diagnosis of autism, we were very heavily reliant on Pathways for advice and support, because we're not an expert in this field. I've gained a lot of knowledge by reading and speaking to others, and that's important. But these are people who are trained in the development of children. And so I will listen to Marg about how best to communicate with Ben. And I've had a massive amount of success by following her advice and communicating with him with the way that she suggests. And in doing that, there forms a bond between he and I, and he feels I understand him and I understand him. And so we can do things, because there's that bond that I can say, "Mate, listen, come give Daddy cuddles. We've got to go to the car. Cuddles, Daddy," he'll say, "Come and give me cuddles," and we'll go to the car. Sometimes we have problems if he wants to watch Thomas or take Thomas, but all in all, there's the ability to communicate with him has been vastly improved by our interaction with Plumtree, and his development is now we can bond, we can do things together. He'll listen, I'll listen to him, he'll listen to me, and so we can have success.